You pulled on the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level, then you held the dolphin in your hands, manipulating it to make it look like it was jumping through the air.
Mine's name is Cherry, and she's actually an alien. And then her and her dolphin friends are gonna say so long and thanks for all the fish.
Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Espoir du Vide, and today I'd like to play more of Our Life, Beginnings and Always. So where we last left off was the moment select. So the way I believe this game works is each step is like childhood, teenagerhood, adulthood, depressionhood, and in each step we get moments. So I guess these are all little scenes that we can do. So I'm gonna try to go through all of them from left to right, starting with shopping. Come back before it gets dark, alright, sport? The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you had been watching inch slowly across the pavement. I would be 8 years old and just watching a snail do its thing. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. Aww. He looked to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. Is it money? It reminded you of when you'd first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Seriously, dude, I don't know if that's genius or if that's weird. It's definitely weird. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you made a noise, because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little weird for getting caught. You've got to learn to be more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them of sand, then jogged over to join the two, smiling at Cove first and then his dad. Espoir, hi.
How's it going?
Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to today, Espoir?
Watching snails.
Nothing. You toed the pavement in front of you. It would be nice to tell him about the snail you found, but you didn't know if you liked snails. After you finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills he had into a tiny rectangle. Aww. Sounds fun. It does? You weren't sure about that. Did you even listen to what I said? I said I was doing nothing. You know, Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him? You gave a ready nod, turning to squint in the direction of the stores like you could see the goods they had to offer all the way from where you stood.
Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't mind. Great. I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun. You're just trying to make me befriend your son some more. Mr. Holden reached into his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. You found it odd since your mom's only ever seemed to have cards in theirs. Where you get all them $1 bills from, Cove's dad? Here. He leaned in to pass a crisp 10 to Cove, giving him an awkward wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend, too. Sure.
Good kid.
That's my boy. Cove's dad ruffled his son's hair as he was straightening back up, the bill in his hand still held out towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped it into his pocket. Then, with one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. You followed after him, intrigued at the possibilities this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide creeping up the sand, and you fell into place beside him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining, and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being hot. Oh, that sounds lovely. You took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and you slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. Are you looking for shells? Cove startled a little at the sound of your voice and mumbled a sort of. If you see any, you can let me know. You can imagine that. You dropped your view to the sand, walking carefully so you didn't step on any. You were good at finding shells. You had a lot of them at home, and always found new ones whenever you visited the beach. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with pleasant white noise, and you played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting as close to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times, and although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word.
Aww.
Yeah, what
What did you want to go to the shops for?
I need a new sand pail.
Yeah? What happened to your old one?
Cove narrowed his eyes, seeming to think deeply for a second.
Whoa. It disappeared. What? Really?
Cove ducked his head down, lacing his fingers behind his back. It didn't seem like he was going to continue, so you nudged his arm.
How did that happen? Well...
Cove opened his mouth, then shut it again, considering.
I took it to the beach one day. Uh-huh. When I got home, it wasn't anywhere. You left it there?
Nope, it wasn't at the beach when I went back.
Then you lost it.
It disappeared.
So...
What about you? What do you do out here?
Yeah, I like looking at the fish. They don't like me, so they always swim away if I get close, but they're pretty before that.
Cool. Starfish are fun. They aren't going anywhere, even if you touch them. A small laugh escaped you.
That's true.
Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day, the call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and a lot of salespeople trying to get attention. You sniffed the air as you walked beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there were other scents now too. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. Ooh, it was nice. Yeah. The energy surrounding the area seemed to fill you, and there was a bounce in your step as you began looking at all the familiar sights. There were just so many things to do, and you didn't know where to begin. You looked at Cove, hoping he was just as excited as you were. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. Are you comfortable, Cove? What's that? Cove pointed to a large crowd of people gathering near a few tables with large, colorful umbrellas blooming from the middles. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way. Are we just walking around? But you knew there must be something worth seeing. Without another word, the two of you hurried over to see what all the commotion was about. Amazing Alexander? Okay. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander! In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over that read, "The Amazing Alexander," in glittery golden script.
Is he a magician?
Why tell people his name if it's already on the sign? That's what you gotta do. You gotta keep telling your name over and over and over. Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away just as the amazing Alexander began shuffling a deck of cards. You bit your lip, reluctantly starting to follow after Cove again. You continued looking over your shoulder, however, wanting to see as much as you could before you got too far away.
Hey!
Not watching where you were going proved a bad idea, as you bumped right into Cove.
Oh, sorry.
Did you want to stay or something?
If that's okay.
He briefly lifted his arms up off his sides before returning them to place.
You could have said so.
With that, it began. The magic man pulled one card out of the deck, showing it to the curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. Watch closely! You did, squeezing through a few of the adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly, the man snapped his finger, and the card just disappeared. A witch!
Whoa!
Cove was not impressed. The amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's that behind your ear? Yeah, I'm a sucker for magic shows.
What is it?
This had to be going somewhere, and you needed to find out. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped closer. It was great. You felt a tug, and then he pulled the 4 of diamonds out from behind your ear.
What?
You knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't get how he'd done it.
I know how he done it.
There was light applause from the crowd, and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. The magician plucked a pair of balloons from a clump of them tied down to his table. Both were in the shape of a dolphin, instead of being a normal circle. And a dolphin balloon! And one for your friend, too. Thank you for being my assistant.
Wow!
Now you're really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card. Any card.
My uncle does that every time he visits.
Not the balloon, the stuff with the cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. You wondered if Cove's whole family was magic. No, just his dad is rich. At least you had fun. You saw a magic trick and you got a great balloon. That was more than enough to make it a worthwhile event. You thought that if you could find a card to practice with, maybe you could make it disappear too. Yeah, you could do it. It's a sleight of hand thing. The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed to the side that there was a whole rack of brightly colored kaleidoscopes on display. Ooh, ooh. Kaleidoscope, Rubik's Cube, 8-ball, kaleidoscope. Yeah.
Oh,
You shifted your balloon string to your other hand so you could bring the mysterious tunnel to your eye. A whole palette of colors appeared right in front of you, spinning into all kinds of different shapes as you twisted the end of the tube. Cove picked up one and looked through, twisting the tube at the end. After a second, he set it back on the rack, moving to the other side of the stall. He went under the awning, careful of his own floating dolphin, and you joined him. Yeah, did you have places like this in your old town? Cove blinked at you for a moment, and you wondered if you shouldn't have asked. You knew how much he missed that place.
not really.
You nodded in understanding, looking over at the stalls nearby.
Oh.
While Cove looked at the sand pails, you were drawn to a table with colorful keychains laid out on it. There were sewn in the shape of sea creatures, and there was a plaque that read "Handmade" standing proudly in front. I want that crab. You go and give me that crab. There were lots of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, and a turtle. Want that crab? I want that crab. Your hand stopped on the crab, claws raised and a tiny smile on its face. It had big eyes and little legs, and the fabric was smooth when you picked it up. You had seen a few crabs at the beach before, though they usually scuttled away before you got the chance to look at them closely. Also, crabs are delicious. I'm slightly allergic, but I'm gonna eat them anyway. You liked the idea of having a crab all of your own, even if it was just a soft animal. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price, though, your heart fell. $6. $6 in this day and age, that's cheap for a keychain. You didn't know much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You rarely had more than a $5 bill to your name, though that changed the day you met Cove and his dad. You still had the $20 bill Mr. Holden gave you hidden away in your room. It was a grand sum of money, but you couldn't spend something that was at home instead of in your pocket. Maybe you'd have to ask your moms to bring you here again one day, now that she knew what you wanted.
Is that what you want? Huh? Oh, it's $6. I didn't bring any money.
All right. It's fine.
Are you sure?
Cove took the keychain from your hands, and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself, too.
I was always gonna get you something. I already got the money for it.
You were a little nervous, but happy with your purchase nonetheless. It was nice of Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you, too. Aww. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the store side by side, your balloon dolphins knocking together and spiraling around in the air.
Oh, that's so precious.
Oh, everyone's saying how precious and heartwarming this game is. It's getting to me. It's getting to me, just us side by side with our little balloons. You watched Cove hold up his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly.
Hey, Cove? Yeah?
Yeah, does your dad always give out money like that?
Thanks for getting me this.
It's all right. It wasn't clear if you really knew how much you appreciated it.
What?
You were starting to thank him for the keychain, but instead you just shook your head, smiling. Cove raised an eyebrow, but didn't push the issue. I swear, if we get to the adulthood, and he brings up little moments like this, I might cry. Like, we're both adults, and he's like, hey, remember that time I bought you a crab keychain when we were kids? And I'd be like, yes, it was the greatest keychain of my life. Man, this game's gonna make me cry, isn't it? Cove looked further down the street, where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did, yours let out a light growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all of this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some lunch.
Let's get some food. Yeah.
You two wandered around a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, and as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over to you, your stomach growled even louder. After passing up hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamony, and I also got... Yeah, I got the same thing, sweet and cinnamon. Cinnamon. You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed your pretzel over, ready to take a big bite. Your moms didn't like you to eat too much sugar, but this was a special occasion. The little cup of icing looked too delicious to pass on. You found an empty table close enough to the beach that the grit of the sand made terrible noises when you dragged the chairs out to sit down. These balloons are gonna make it hard to eat. Cove placed his bucket on the table as he stared at a still, balled-up hand that was wrapped around the string. Oh yeah, I guess it would. You opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you.
I know.
After carefully placing your pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you tugged the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it in a delicate bow around his wrist. Cove bounced his arm up and down in place, testing the stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around, but remain attached, he smiled satisfied. That's a good idea. That's a great idea, 8-year-old me.
Could you help me too? I can't tie it on my own wrist.
He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with the cast restricting his fingers on one hand and a string already tangled around the other.
Okay.
Got it. The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now free to allow easy munching on your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, savoring the taste on your tongue with a smile as you looked out over the ocean. After a time, you finished your pretzel. Oh, this is so cute. You were done before Cove. It was boring not having anything to do. You pulled on the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level. Then you held the dolphin in your hands, manipulating it to make it look like it was jumping through the air. If you turned to face towards the beach, it almost looked like it was swimming in the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side.
Oh.
When you glanced back at Cove, he had left the remaining part of his pretzel on the wrapper, and he was gripping his dolphin too.
Yeah. Mine's name is Cherry, and she's actually an alien. And in a bunch of years, a bunch of aliens are going to come to the Earth, and they're going to destroy the Earth and move it out of the way, and a British man is going to be involved, and then her and her dolphin friends are going to say so long and thanks for all the fish. When no one is looking, she transforms back into her true alien self. She has purple skin and 10 eyes.
You sighed, wishing you could meet a real-life alien.
What's yours?
Cove considered this question, placing the balloon against the table and resting his free arm across it in contemplation.
It's...
With a loud pop, the dolphin exploded into ribbons.
Oh! Oh no!
For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock, like you. Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes, and you saw tears start to glisten. I will give you my balloon, Cove. You looked at Cove, then up to your balloon, bobbing gently in the air above you.
You can have mine.
She will protect you when the Earth is doomed. That was better than letting him cry more. Cove sniffled, glancing up at the balloon, then back at you.
No, it's yours. I don't want to take it from you. It's okay, really.
Cove shook his head. Even though it wasn't your fault, you felt bad. Still, the offer seemed to lift Cove's spirits, and that was good. The passing of Cove's balloon was the last major event of your adventure. In the end, the two of you headed back late that afternoon. Aw, did we bury it? Did we bury his balloon at least? Actually, no, you probably shouldn't bury plastic in the ground. You separated on the beach, and while Cove went straight home with his brand new sand pail in hand, you decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset, fiddling with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing to a close. It had been a good one, except for that sad final note.
Oh, that was so sweet.
Ow, my heart! Oh no, I'm not gonna survive, y'all. Grown up? One sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of the birds chattering outside the window, while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your moms had left the two of you, along with Lizzie, to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mommy, so your sister was starting to get impatient waiting for her golf class that evening. Golf class? Do little kids yearn for the clubs? Do little kids take golfing classes? The three of you had had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt that it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Then suddenly, a light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes, and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new wave of energy.
Since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyways. They're always inside and telling everybody they're too busy to play.
Why? Duh.
I said why, and it'll be fun, duh.
What do they do inside that we don't, besides use the phone a lot? Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decided to ignore Cove.
What do you think?
Espa, what do you think? What do you want to do?
Yeah, kids, you don't want to grow up too fast. As Adam Sandler once said, stay here. Stay as long as you can.
Gee, I can't wait till I go to hikes. Well,
don't you say that. Stay here. Stay as long as you can.
And I kind of want to see what I kind of want to do it. Sorry, Cove. You do?
Seriously? Yeah.
How exactly are we going to do this?
Hooray! Okay, let me think. What do I want to be?
I mean, we could all pretend to be like an astronaut, firefighter, teacher, all those fun jobs that we find out are not very fun when we actually grow up. Hey, we could all pretend to be YouTubers. Satisfied that neither of you were about to bail on her, Lizzie thought over her options while you watched. After a few seconds, she clapped her hands together and beamed, apparently having settled on something without asking either of you.
Okay, I'm gonna be a professional golfer. Espoir, you and Cove can be a beach volleyball player, a gymnast, or a tennis player.
I'll be a tennis player and then get mad at my racket when I lose. Why can't we pick anything we want?
Because I have a fun idea, that's why.
And we have to play sports as an adult?
Yep.
But there's other kind of sports too.
Right?
It isn't the same. What do you think, Espoir? Don't those choices sound super cool? You want to be that, huh?
No, I don't. I want to be an artist. Yeah, isn't there anything else we could be? I want to be an artist, and I don't know what Cove likes. Oh, Cove could be an archaeologist. Lizzie stomped a foot on the ground. Come on, Lizzie.
No, come on, just decide already.
Knowing Lizzie wouldn't let this go anytime soon, you sighed. Cove wasn't impressed with Lizzie's attitude, though he didn't bother talking more about it for now. You thought over the list of possibilities: beach volleyball, gymnastics, or tennis. Out of all of them, you'd prefer to play tennis. You remembered Mommy had a couple of old tennis rackets lying around somewhere, but you forgot where you had seen them last. You could check the attic for them, although Lizzie probably wouldn't let you run off and do that now that she had you here. Yes, that was clearly the top option.
I guess I'll be a tennis player.
All right.
How about you, Cove?
I pick volleyball.
I should have known. Okay, Espoir, you're a famous tennis player, and Cove, you're on a popular beach volleyball team. And
Lizzie's ponytail bobbed when she proudly stretched her arms wide.
We're Olympic athletes who just competed in the Olympics.
Cove didn't seem all that impressed with the announcement. He made a face and adjusted the glasses on his nose. That's really specific.
Rude.
That's what makes it fun. Anyway.
Lizzie marched back and forth in front of the both of you, getting lost in her own imagination.
I won all gold medals, and people are calling me the next Mickey Wright.
Oh, she's into golf. That's so cute. Who's that? Lizzie stopped on the spot and turned to him, her brown eyes shining with impatience.
It doesn't matter if you know who she is. It's a golf thing. You guys won medals too. Cove, your team won bronze, and Espoir, you barely missed out on the gold and got silver. It's more real if we're not all first place.
Yeah, fine. Whatever you say, Lizzie. You stayed silent and looked at your hands. Next to you, Cove leaned towards Lizzie with a frown.
Sorry.
Lots of people lose at the Olympics. Them's the breaks.
Then you're the one who did, not me. Lizzie looked taken aback by Cove's declaration, as though the thought of her losing was completely absurd.
No way! It wouldn't make sense. I'm already practicing my golf game.
She took a golfing stance to make her point, pretending to swing her club and hit an invisible ball.
So, what kind of house do you want to live in?
House? We just won the Olympics. Shouldn't we be out celebrating? Cove hadn't changed his mind about winning, but thinking about where he'd live as an adult appealed to him apparently, because he looked back at Lizzie with some of the anger fading. I'm going to live on the beach. Lizzie made a face at him, poking out her tongue.
That's kinda boring. We already have that.
No, not like the normal houses here with a street. On it, right on the sand, by the water. Just like that, all the tension was back. You hadn't even had a chance to choose where you'd want to live.
That's not very fun or smart, Cove. You can't live on a bunch of sand and shells.
But I want to, and I will. Cove narrowed his eyes at Lizzie, even though she stood half a head taller than him. You didn't give out a list of things to pick from this time, so I'm picking that. Why are we even playing pretend if we can't imagine anything?
Jeez.
Well, I'm gonna live in a mansion far away from here and far away from you. One with an indoor pool and a place to practice my award-winning golfing.
It's not fair. How come you were yelling about mine when your idea is even more impossible? Lizzie's face flushed red, her hands balling into fists at her side.
It's not impossible, and it's better than yours.
Disagreements always seemed to crop up when the two of them were together, and you always felt like you were stuck in the middle. But when it came to the topic at hand, this time you thought, yeah, being on the beach is cooler. I would love to have a beach house. I would love to live this close to the beach.
Who wouldn't want to live on the beach? It'd be really great. You could have windows made from driftwood and seashell wind chimes.
You're thinking great, little me, little espoir. He smiled slightly over the agreement, then turned to Lizzie with bolstered confidence. You can swim whenever you want if you live on the beach.
We can still swim any time we want from where we live now. Being a little closer doesn't mean anything. Says you.
The two of them scowled at each other.
You're being unreasonable. You...
I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense.
It does. You have to be realistic. I said that.
But you're not. You had no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seemed like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Nothing you'd say so far had kept them from being mad. Thankfully, like a greeting card angel, Mom walked into the room. Lizzie rushed to her, hanging onto the hem of her skirt and poking at her tongue at Cove. Lizzie, espoir, it's time to get ready to go.
All right with that?
Sorry you have to leave already, Cove. Their mommy said she'll walk you home so you won't be left in the cold. Cove was still glaring at Lizzie, his face flushed red with anger. I can go by myself. But...
Bye.
Bye, espoir.
Bye, Cove.
There was still a harsh edge to the brief farewell, but you knew it wasn't you he was mad at. Without giving Mom a chance to stop him, Cove stood up and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight. I bet in a couple steps, Cove and Lizzie are going to be the best of friends. They're going to be plotting stuff behind my back, and this is just going to be a distant memory. Or maybe Lizzie's going to grow up and she's going to continue to hate Cove. Okay. Worried, Mom turned to look down at you and Lizzie. You two were playing nice with our new friend, weren't you? I told the truth.
They were fighting, Cove and Lizzie, for the whole time.
Your sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed as Mom put both her hands on her hips. Come on, Lizzie. You started it. You're taking control. Giving us choices on who we want to be in the future.
Elizabeth!
I told you to be kind to him. He's having a hard time right now. Yeah, Lizzie.
Yeah, Lizzie, he's having a hard time right now.
Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replaced by a tiny frown.
I know. I tried, but he was...
That's enough.
No buts. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind to it. we're going to apologize to Cove and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight. Lizzie hung her head, dragging a foot across the ground in front of her.
Okay, Mom.
Good girl. You caught pieces of Lizzie sulking to herself about how it was his fault too, but it was over. All right, we better get a move on.
Let's go.
Let's go, kids. Neolani, where did you leave the car keys? Neolani? Wait, hold on.
Let's go.
Noelani? Noelani? That's so pretty. Mama hustled you all out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. She was usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say anything. Your parents noticed she wasn't in the mood to be bothered. She's got to work on her swing. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked you what you would like to listen to. Yeah, I'll pick a song for Lizzie. You chose a song you knew Lizzie liked. Maybe that would cheer her up. You were happy to see it brightened her up right away, and she started singing along with you. Soon enough, her bad mood was a thing of the past. Man, I'm still big sistering, even in visual novels, even in fictional things, I'm still big sistering. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hour watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it, so you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and you stretched out your legs to let the yet last few minutes of sun warm your skin. That looks lovely. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your moms took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had all been going to ever since you could remember. The whole afternoon had been a bunch of shouting you hadn't been able to stop, but you could kind of tell that this all helped Lizzie be less angry. Aww. The car ride home was silent, with only the radio providing escape from silence. Lizzie had been in better spirits now, but the closer you got to your neighborhood, the more she wiggled in her seat and frowned out the window. She knew what was coming when you all got back home. Clearly, she was dreading it. Soon enough, Mom was turning onto your street, then reversing into the driveway. Once she cut the ignition, it was dead silent. No one spoke, only unbuckled their seatbelts and opened the doors. Lizzie was the last one out. Come on, Lizzie, I'll drag you out the car and make you apologize. Once everyone was inside and done taking off their shoes, she propped her hands on her hips.
So?
Now then, Mr. Holden's car's in his driveway, so he should be back from work. That's good news, isn't it, Elizabeth? You and Cove can hash things out before the day's done. Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Her head ducked so that she didn't have to meet anyone's eyes. She nodded once. Good, let's move this to the kitchen. Mom went over to the house phone, the rest of you following behind her. Mommy put a gentle hand on Lizzie's shoulders as they walked side by side. You watched them from the back. This was only happening because you told on Lizzie. Yep, I didn't like doing it, but I had to. But on the other hand, she is a little kid. Being a tattletale didn't feel good, and you wouldn't want someone else to tell your moms everything you did. Still, your mom had asked directly, and you wanted to be a liar even less. The four of you stood around the kitchen in a lopsided square. All eyes were on Lizzie, who kept her gaze on her feet. You remember the number for Cove's house, don't you, honey? Lizzie jerked her head in another nod, sullen. Without further prompting, she stepped forward and she began to dial. Aw, making her dial it too. Well, yeah, I guess this is a good learning lesson. Mom reached over and pressed a button on the base. Suddenly you could hear the phone ringing. She turned on the speaker. The phone rang a couple of times, then stopped. Mr. Holden's warm voice came through the other end. Evening, Holden residence. Lizzie looked over at Mommy. Unsure, she nodded encouragingly.
Hi, Mr. Holden. It's, Lizzie. Can I talk to Cove?
Absolutely.
Lizzie Duvid? What a surprise! But of course you can say hey to the boy. He sounded cheery as usual, though definitely meant it when he said it was a surprise. You thought hard. You were sure that your sister had never called Cove's house before. Mom spoke up before Mr. Holden, or Lizzie could say anything more. Her arms were crossed over her chest, her lips pursed. Hi, Cliff. Nolani, Espoir, and I are here too. Good evening. We're sorry to bother you so late. You spoke up to say hello to, Hi, strange man, he gave me $20 to befriend his son.
Hi.
The gang's all here, huh? Is something the matter? His voice grew a bit concerned. Mommy was quick to reassure him. No, well, yes, but it's going to be okay. Lizzie and Cove got into a bit of a fight today. We were hoping that the two of them could talk and make up. Is this a good time for you and Cove?
What?
A fight? Cove didn't tell me about that when I came home. It does explain the funk he's been in tonight. He chuckled lightly. Despite that, it didn't seem like he really thought it was funny. Anyway, it's good. You didn't catch us at a bad time. I'll go grab him for you. There was some shuffling on the other end. He must not have gone far because you could still hear him calling out. Cove, there's someone on the phone for you. After a beat of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's dad. Come on, bud. Lizzie called just so she could talk to you.
Are you sure?
Espoir's on the other end listening too. Don't you want to say hi? It took a bit of back and forth, though the conversation seemed one-sided since you couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad. Hi.
Hey, it's Lizzie.
Yeah, I know. Dad told me. Cove's tone was defensive. Lizzie turned to Mom, scowling. One stern look from her, though, and Lizzie turned away.
Sorry.
I just called to say I'm sorry for not playing nice with you today. I won't do it again.
Lizzie's eyes were downcast, her voice low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. She was still being genuine about feeling bad. Cove must have realized that too, because he sighed quietly.
I want gold, and I think Espoir should win too.
Really? He thought you were worth gold even though you hadn't even wanted it? Aww. Lizzie was momentarily stunned silent by the demand. She probably forgot that it even happened today.
All right, we all win the gold.
Okay, I guess I'm sorry too. A sense of relief washed over everyone at his acceptance of the apology. Aww. Mom uncrossed her arms while Mommy's shoulders relaxed. Lizzie's eyebrows raised up. You wondered if she thought he'd refuse her apology. Dad, can I get off the phone now? You couldn't see him, but it was obvious that Cove felt awkward about the situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go back to your room if you want. Be sure to say goodbye first, though. Bye, Lizzie.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Espoir. You perked up at the mention of your name. You smiled, even if you couldn't see it.
Bye, Cove.
With that said, Cove must have handed the phone to his dad and left, since Mr. Holden spoke up.
That's a relief.
All's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it. As Mom replied, Lizzie tugged on Mommy's hand to catch her attention.
Can I go now, too?
Good job.
Sure, sweetie. Thank you very much for apologizing to Cove. Mom flashed a brief smile at Lizzie and nodded her agreement. Given permission to leave, Lizzie scurried off towards the stairs. She seemed to be feeling much better with the incident behind her. Mom and Mommy returned to the phone. Taking it off the speaker, they continued talking to Mr. Holden. You couldn't tell what about. You were glad that it was the end of it all. Lizzie and Cove might not get along, and probably still won't, but they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mom and Mommy weren't upset either. Everything was finally back to normal. With that thought, you retreated to your own room with a spring in your step. Hey there, pre-recorded Espoir here, and may I have 30 seconds of your time. Want me to draw your OCs? Check out my Ko-fi page for art commissions as low as $20. Link in the description. Every week I post a Saturday update blog on both of my Patreons and now also my YouTube channel members. With behind-the-scenes stuff, upcoming games I want to play, life stuff, old lady stuff, and pictures of Daisy. Link in the description. Want to see the full uncensored versions of gameplays I can't show on this channel? Join my adult Patreon for the low price of $1 and being over the age of 18. And then in the Do you yearn to wear merch of a super obscure free visual novel? Check out my TeePublic and Teespring t-shirt store. Description the in link. Want to support my channel but you have no money? Hit the like button or subscribe. It's free. That's right, free. We're just giving it away. Check out my itch.io page. Play Picture Perfect Boyfriend. It's free. Link in the description. This game is so incredibly heartwarming. I can see why so many people have said this is one of the best visual novels they've ever played. So continuing with our childhood steps, what happens in Long Day? It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel a little frustrated, like, well, I don't want to be the one in charge. Well, I mean, on second thought, if I gotta be the one to step up, I guess I'll do it. Yeah, nothing really. It's fine either way. Shiloh went along with whatever you wanted, so he wasn't a bother, but he also wasn't that much fun. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing, something sweet. Something like a popsicle? Yeah, popsicle. Yeah, a nice strawberry fresh fruit popsicle. Ugh! Oh, that's delicious. You wanted something fruity and brightly colored. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your moms didn't keep sweets in the house. Alright, I'm running away. I am running away from home. Cove? Cove, do you want to join me? We do not have sweets in the house. I'm running away. Outside, there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but there were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. I voiced my predicament out loud. Man, I wish I had a free popsicle. I wish I had a free popsicle.
I want a popsicle.
Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up.
Yeah.
That sounds good. We don't have anything like that in the house, and I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any.
Some popsicles or some money? Just Shiloh pulls out a bunch of rolled up $1 bills. Shiloh rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins, plus one stray button. You set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1. You announced this to Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he had been watching you expectantly. It's a start. Shiloh beamed at you. Oh, precious, give him a popsicle. Give Shiloh a popsicle.
We'll need to find some more. Okay.
The two of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands deep down into crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scoured the back of drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust or sandy crumbs, but every so often one of you could strike silver or bronze and add it to the growing pile of coins. Aw! Your mind wandered to the $20 bill tucked away in your room. It was enough for you and Shiloh to get whatever you wanted and more, but you didn't take it out. That was too special to hand it over so freely. Oh, am I gonna keep that $20 like when me and Cove are old? I'm gonna cry. If I don't spend that $20 for like the years that me and Cove grow up. Besides, Shiloh would be curious about where it came from and might even mention your wealth to Lizzie. Ooh, the exchange had been a secret. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the two of you finished pooling your finds. Shiloh held his breath as you counted the coins once again.
$2.53, and 2 buttons.
You didn't know when the second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out.
Is that enough?
You figured he knew the answer without looking to you for confirmation, but the thrill of your success and the reward that would follow canceled out any other feelings you might have had about that.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know. SpongeBob ice cream cost me like $4 the other day. You could now afford something at the shops. Just one thing, but that was infinitely better than none. Shiloh clapped his hands.
Yay!
The two of you dashed outside. The promise of sugar buoyed you on to your destination where, breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. So we're gonna have to get those popsicles that you can break apart, and then one half is gonna be bigger than the other. I'm gonna be selfless, I'm gonna give the bigger half to Shiloh. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed the funds to get the treat. He seemed to notice your pause.
Aren't you getting a popsicle?
Shiloh asked as though he was entirely separate from the decision, rather than someone with a stake in the outcome.
Do you mind?
Shiloh tilted his head to the side.
It was your idea. You should choose.
Yeah, I'll get something we both wanted. Come on, Shiloh. You gotta learn to walk your own path. And he's like 4 years old. Like, you gotta follow your path in life, Shiloh. He's like 4. He's a little baby. It wasn't fair for you to be the only one to decide when he'd been a main factor in making this happen. Yeah, some of the money came directly from his backpack.
What do you like? All of them. They're so good.
You pressed further.
But what do you really like? Popsicles or ice creams? Which is your favorite? Aw, it's so hard to pick. I don't know.
Frustrated, you cut to the heart of the matter.
You want me to choose? Yeah.
Ugh, all right, Shiloh, you better not be like this when we're adults. And that was that. You got the dessert you wanted originally and hoped Shiloh would actually like it too. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You sucked on the fruity popsicle you'd brought. The icy treat cooled you down perfectly, and the zesty flavor was refreshing. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn. He shook his
You
head.
can finish it.
Oh, he didn't want any? After everything he did to help get it? That was weird. Oh, as much as I hate sharing food, you're entitled to it too. You tried to include Shiloh. Even if Shiloh said it was okay, every story you'd ever seen on TV or read in a book said that sharing was caring. You stood your ground, even as the treat started to trickle dangerously towards your fingers.
It's only fair that you have some. We both bought it. But you want it more than I do, and getting to play was a lot of fun already, so you can have it. That's more fair.
Shiloh, you're about to make me cry. You held it out to him.
I want you to have some, even more than I want to finish, so eat your part.
Relenting, Shiloh took the treat and gave it a taste. His eyes lit up.
Thank you.
It was really good. Thank you.
You smiled, pleased with your good deed.
You picked the best one.
Did he mean that? Shiloh was always nice no matter what happened. Even if he hated it, you knew he wouldn't say so. Maybe he thought it was gross and that's the real reason why he didn't want to take some. You had no idea. You studied him as he ate a little more. He had every appearance of enjoying himself. Still, weird. The two of you began to head back home as he ate. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say how he felt, or was too afraid to. Shiloh, you're too young to have people-pleasing trauma. Yeah, that's kinda sad. Not being able to talk to people isn't fun, and you didn't want to be the kind of person people were scared to tell their honest opinion to. You considered asking Shiloh about it, but if he couldn't give an opinion on something like ice cream, then he wasn't going to open up about this. You hoped for the best. Maybe you were wrong, or if you were right, maybe he'd feel better about it soon. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times, and there had been confusing ones. You were positive of one thing, at least. The treat was delicious, and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two very familiar figures ahead. Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them, just as you saw the tears on Cove's face. Lizzie! You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Once there, you... Now, before I defend Cove, as much as I want to, maybe Lizzie didn't do this. I'm kind of thinking that she did, but I'm not gonna assume. I'm a wise old 8-year-old. Carefully ask about what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you were going to find out was by asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You wanted to hear the story.
Cove, what happened?
Well, I got yelled at. He took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me.
Aw, sorry.
Oh no, are these the youth-stealing adults you told us about? Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. Oh,
They're like that with everyone.
even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. They're like, gosh darn children with your Nintendos and your flip phones and your Backstreet Boys. It didn't matter if they were really nice, like Cove. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction.
I was helping.
I believed you, Lizzie. I believed you.
That's cool. Is there anything I can do?
No, I'm just gonna stay away.
Or we could teach them a lesson.
There was a devilish glint in her eyes.
What? You should ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great because they're so slow, they'll never catch you.
That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
We're just saying that because you're a chicken.
Why don't you do it, Lizzie, huh? If he's such a chicken, why don't you do it?
Cove glared, but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you.
You're not a chicken, are you?
Yeah, I'll do it. Out of the way, kids. Here comes another kid, because we're all kids here. I'll do it. Nobody makes fun of my future husband.
Really?
You took a deep breath and nodded. Lizzie squealed with delight.
We'll go hide. Run as soon as you hit the bell. Good luck.
Lizzie and Shiloh ran across the road to take shelter in the bushes. Even once they'd settled down, you could make out two child-sized shapes staring from between the leaves. Oh, you knew where to look for them, though, so you told yourself that the grouchy old people wouldn't spot it. Cove sighed, his gaze flickering to the house and then back to you.
Be careful. He'll be okay.
He gave the door, and you, one last look before joining Lizzie and Shiloh in their hideaway. I'm probably gonna get, my moms are probably gonna grab me by my arm and make me apologize, but I'll just look at them in their eyes and go, worth it. The weight of 3 pairs of eyes on your back was heavier than anything you'd carried before as you approached the door. You hesitated as you reached for the doorbell. Then, you rang it! You slapped the buzzer and ran. Blood thumped against your eardrums with every step. Would you make it in time? Approaching the hiding spot, you knew that there wasn't time to go around the bushes as the others had done. You took a shortcut, leaping over them. Just backflip into the bushes. Or to be more accurate, crashing into the tops of the bushes and then falling over to the other side. Cove quietly hissed as you unwittingly collided into him, but by the time his arms were out, it seemed he had intentionally tried to cushion your landing. Shh! Lizzie put a finger to her lips and nodded at the house. You disentangled your limbs from Cove's and spun around to see the old man framed in the doorway, peering back and forth suspiciously. You covered your mouth with your hands, but it wasn't enough to stifle your giggles. Maybe he spotted one of you, or maybe it was the leaves you displaced while jumping, but he locked eyes with the bush and stormed over in your direction. Shiloh gasped and looked to Lizzie.
Run!
Your sister didn't hesitate to take her own advice, neither did Shiloh. I'll get up. I'm like, yeah, I
did it. What you gonna do, old man?
You got up, but seeing Cove struggling to extract himself and stand up with just the one fully functioning arm, you gave him a hand up before taking off after the others. The old man's hollers propelled you all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The 4 of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of the cool grass against your skin.
Cove.
Hey, Cove.
Cove lifted his head.
I told you they were mean grandparents around here.
Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting with Shiloh, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be the second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. Yeah, it's fine. Shiloh could prefer Lizzie as much as he wanted to. There were other things to attend to anyway. You wriggled closer to Cove. He had calmed down, for the most part, and was inspecting a flower. His fingers pinched the stem and tilted the white petals towards him.
That's a poppy.
Cove glanced at you in acknowledgement, then back to the flower.
And the type of poppies on this hill have the name white linen poppy, Mom told me.
He corked a smile. That's funny. He ran a finger around the edge of the petals. It doesn't feel like cloth. You need a lot of them to make anything. He nodded and released the delicate plant, evaluation complete. This is my favorite kind of flower, but I didn't know what it was called. Thanks. That's a lot of choices. I do like roses. Let's see, buttercups, snapdragons, hibiscuses, peonies, tulips, sunflowers. I do like sunflowers. Sunflowers are nice. But yeah, I kind of like all flowers. Yeah.
I like all the flowers. It's hard to pick just one. Sorry, flowers.
He chuckled. You're so nice.
Thanks. Oh.
You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes.
I saw a dolphin.
You saw a dolphin leaping through the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed to it.
Look, a dolphin.
Cove joined you in gazing skywards. Yeah, I see it.
Really?
No, but I like dolphins.
Hey!
He chuckled at your reaction.
Oh.
Ouch! My heart! All the sun's light faded from the sky, and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide.
Let's go to the beach.
There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. I want to go there too. So you eagerly joined the others in descending the hill down to the water. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sand castles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been hours earlier. The four of you kicked your shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The wave tickled your feet.
I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything.
That would be bad for the fish.
Jeez.
I didn't say anyone would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be so serious about everything.
You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It hurt the fishes.
I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious.
You never heard Lizzie use that word before.
Mommy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom coming back to pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy.
What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does.
Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about?
You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms.
It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Espoir. I don't have a dad. But I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great.
Oh, sorry. I only have one now, too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad and me.
Sorry.
Aw, I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone.
Cove nodded. I kind of want to joke about Shiloh's mom getting together with Cove's dad. No, because I don't want to joke about that because Cove probably misses his mom. Yeah, even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways.
Yeah.
Cove couldn't muster a response. You don't think he truly disagreed, though. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs.
Lizzie!
Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. I retaliated? Of course you know. This means war, Lizzie! Splash. You used your foot to smack the water pooling around you, sending an arc of sea foam flying back onto your sister. You laughed as she sputtered, some of the salty seawater having landed in her mouth. She spat it out.
Yuck!
Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down the coast, taking it in turns to be the predator and the prey. as well as joining forces to take down Shiloh or Cove. Alliances were silently forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in war.
Ah!
Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, causing him falling face first onto the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Oh, like it's a cartoon. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain, as you all hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head, and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it.
That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over.
You Dumbo.
Way to go, Shiloh, you Dumbo.
Dumbo, I helped him up. Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand. After a moment, you dropped it. Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice and held her hand out to Shiloh too. He reached over and took it. Slowly, he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them.
Sorry.
What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low, but there's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose then pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your friendship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you made the journey back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake. Damp clothes may have weighed down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung side to side as a cool breeze flowed past. Your moms were outside, chatting to Cove's dad.
We're back!
Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state you're all in, ranging from messy to soaked.
No.
Elizabeth, is that what you all have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you. They certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be for the long drive home, cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant that she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. You've been out making memories, bucko. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed that even that had gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right. Kids, what can you do? Come on, Cove, let's get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset. Cove winced at the thought.
Okay.
Attaboy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove up off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sand was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble.
Take care.
Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Good night, David family, and Shiloh too. Resigned to his fate, Cove twisted his body in his dad's arms in order to turn around and wave goodbye. Smiling, you returned a tiny wave of your own.
Fine.
Well, we'd better do what we can to fix you guys up too. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom.
Ugh.
Yes, Mom.
Okay, Lizzie's mom.
Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. Sitting on an old beach towel your mommy had found, you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk across the house. Yeah, I guess that would be the one downside to living close to the beach. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience, seeing him without his hat for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go in the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath like she had hoped. This was a no fun allowed cleanup session. At least that's what she claimed. Not much longer it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad that there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea.